Welcome to this beautiful end of March live stream. It's sunny and beautiful today here in Detroit. And I don't know what's going on with the chat today. It's not showing up, and I know you guys have been at it a little bit. Let me just do a refresh and see if we get that back. No, it's not going to let me do that. Okay, so I will just keep no, it's not what I want to show. Okay, we'll just give it a few minutes. Sometimes things just take a little longer in the live stuff. Again, this beautiful, beautiful day. Looks like it should be very warm out. It's not. I think we only have one or two more deep freezes. I'm just wondering if I have any live connection here. 1 second. Something does not feel correct. I'm just going to do a little peek here and see maybe what's going on. Sorry for that. Just give me 1 minute and I will. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it went live. Oh, now I see everybody on the channel, but it's saying that you're waiting for me. So let me see maybe I will sign out and sign back in. So sorry about that. Well, this is very unusual. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, wait a minute. I'm now seeing Claire. Hi, Claire. Oh, you're resplendent. I love that. Did you get that from, wasn't that Kate and Leopold? Where his uncle wanted him to be resplendent. Hi, Denise. Glad you're here. There are loads waiting over in the lobby. Oh, okay. Yeah, Claire, you're here. Hi, Lisa. Yeah, I wonder if there's something else I should be doing. I've never had this complication before. So, oh, I was not aware of that. That's wonderful. Welcome, everybody. So good to see you. Oh, so there was a misconnection over on YouTube, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, I don't know I'm just going to keep talking here, and I hope we're going to get everything sorted out here. Hi, Nicola. Blustery Cornwall. Blustery is such a good word for this time of year, isn't it? Because it can be cold and anywhere. Anyway, oh, hi, Mel. It seems like I don't know exactly what happened there because I started this the same way I've started it every week. So should I say anything to those over on YouTube? I'm going to try to say something. Just going to have them sign back in. Sorry, we'll get this sorted out real quickly. Let me go back and see if I can see. Yeah, see, I'm seeing different chats. So let me, I feel bad for everybody that's over. I'm just gonna have people sign back in, and then we'll get this rolling. Okay, I'm gonna go back over to my. Okay, I hope we can get that all figured out. Um, I asked them all just to sign back in. I'm hoping that will get everybody over here. Uh, the weather in the US today is we're at just 38. So what is that about? I know if I take off 30 divided by 2, so what is that, like 4, 3 or 4 Celsius? Uh, oh, I started on the wrong link. Oh, so sorry. I thought I hit. Okay, so sorry. Welcome, welcome. Little glitch here, getting things rolling. Uh, yeah, that's. I wonder. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna assume everybody's gonna figure out how to get this done. Anyway, what was I going to? Oh, I wanted to talk about. I spent most of the day today working on grafting my tomatoes because it was cold. It looks so sunny. It's beautiful out, but it's freezing. So I thought this would be a good day to get the tomatoes grafted. And it was one thing after the other. It was sad and unfortunate. Um, so I think we've got them already. I'm only doing one now per tomato until I see how this worked because it's been about 15 years um, since I grafted, and I felt a bit of that. As you know, and I particularly those of you um, that have a YouTube channel, you can kind of plan it out in your head how this is going to go, how it's all going to be talked about, and then reality, kind of comes in and doesn't really work the way you thought it would. So one of the things that you have to do after you graft tomatoes is that they have to be in a high humidity dome. Um, and of course, the dome I had was not tall enough. Uh, anyway, it was a calamity of errors. So we will see how that video ends up turning out. Um, it was a lot of fun, though. It'd been a long time since I'd done that. So here's to getting better production uh, off of some of my heirloom tomatoes. Uh, yes, Fiona, I'm talking about the video on the grafting that we just filmed. Gosh, maybe. I mean, we just wrapped it up just before this all started. Maybe that's why I hit the wrong button. It's a little frazzle getting in. Um, so I have to kind of look and see. We took a lot of footage, but again, it was a little calamity of errors at certain points. So I might have to leave all that in because that's part of doing things like that. Again, I've taken like a 15-year break from doing that, and it didn't. I wasn't all as clear in my head as it ended up being. Uh, Mary is asking, what is the purpose of grafting? I'm grafting primarily because I prefer some of the heirloom tomatoes and some of the cherries like Brad's Atomic Grape, but they're not always the most prolific plants. Brad's Atomic Grape many times looks like it's not doing well. It produced a lot of fruit, but sometimes it just looks like it's not doing well. So I'm grafting that onto a better tomato rootstock to see if I can get a more vigorous plant, which hopefully will then be a more vigorous producer. And so I graft onto a really good F1 tomato stock, which is really bred specifically because of its robust growth, um, for its disease resistance, and for the probability that you're going to get more fruit. So that's the purpose. So we'll see. But the beauty of this is you essentially decapitate two different tomato plants, and you graft one onto you graft the one that you want. I think it's called the Scion onto the rootstock, and then they immediately look very dead and very they don't look good, and they need to sit in this like humidity dome for about 4 weeks, and then you can start bringing them back uh, into the regular environment. So that's why I started things early, because I know I lose like a month. They stall for like a month. So Mike is asking, uh, do they come true if you graft onto an F1 parent rootstock? Yes, because when you cut the top off of the rootstock, you go below the first leaves, the cotyledons, and then when you graft the new one on, you graft it with the cotyledons on, so there's no opportunity for the rootstock to grow its fruit. Because many times in the rootstock, it does not produce good tomatoes, but it produces disease resistance, it produces vigor, it lays out a really nice set of roots. So you don't want it producing fruit. I'm tempted, because I do think I'm going to have a little more rootstock than I've had um, in the past, or more than I'm going to graft, I should say. That I might just grow one out and see what these horrible tomatoes are. So, yeah, the grafting process is really easy. It's kind of the aftercare that's a little more tricky. So, finally, when I got the right sized, I essentially put them into like a tub that you would use for storage. That's uh, almost clear, kind of opaque, and lock the lid down. And I just need to leave them in there for about 4 days and let the natural humidity do its thing. So, and I'm going to put out the first part of the video before I put out what happens, because I feel like that's better accountability that I need to show. Right? I want to show the good, the bad, and the ones that didn't survive and the ones that do. So that was my morning today. Uh, and I don't know about you all, but I feel like, it feels like spring now, even though the weather isn't always, it smells like spring outside. It, the sun is getting higher in the sky. So it's all kind of coming together. And I feel like I've been very ahead of where I've needed to be with the growing season coming. And now all of a sudden, I feel like, oh my goodness, there's so much to do here. So I'm going to this afternoon, I'm going to take a breath and go back and look at what all really needs to happen and what is something that I could, um, wait a week or so and still stay on my schedule, so to speak, which is, I try not to make it too difficult, but sometimes it gets a little overwhelming. Yeah, I'm hoping to get our onions out next week. I think we only have one more. Uh, I would call it a hard frost. We're getting down to like 20, I think 22 Fahrenheit. So it's a good hard frost. I think that's our last. I hope it's our last hard frost. I'm really ready to get these things out in the ground. They'll be so much happier. They will do so much better if they can get out and get their feet in the ground and yeah, and not be in these little cell trays. So I'm very anxious for that. Um, okay, it seems like we're having a lot of bra discussion. I'm not sure what that is, but anyway, uh, so what are you guys doing right now? I think I think this is like it's time to get even here. I think after Tuesday, I'm gonna get a lot of my cold, cooler weather things that could handle a frost, could handle um, a light frost, like just below freezing, not um, deeply freezing. But it really feels like it's starting to. I mean, even the lawn. I know about your lawns, but all of a sudden mine looks really green, and it looked brown just a few days ago. So, have you guys been doing cleanup on your allotments, or uh, like for me, my garden in the backyard? Uh, yeah, Fiona's got 6 weeks till her last frost. My last frost is around April 21st, 22nd. So it's, we're getting there. So I'd like to get some of my cold weather stuff out before it's warm weather time. Uh, yeah, Jason is saying it's been a little wet for him. I know a lot of the UK has really been hammered with, and I guess that's spring, isn't it? High winds and a lot of water. But again, it doesn't always make it wonderful to get things done. And I'm doing this new succession sowing method this year and trying to keep on up on that every 3 weeks. And today, because of the tomato um, stuff, I didn't get it planted today. So that might throw that off just a week. But I'm realizing, wow, if I do that all season, I'm going to have uh, a nice, quite a nice staggered harvest, which is kind of what I want. All except for the hot peppers. I really like them to come in a little bit more together so that it's easier to process making sauces and drying hot peppers. It's really nice if they can all be done kind of similar. Um, Margaret, is that she's trying the Castelluto Florentino tomatoes for the first time? Uh, are they the ones that are very, they have a lot of folds? It almost looks like a pincushion a little bit, or an accordion, something, and they're red. If those are the ones I'm thinking of, I've never grown them, but they look absolutely beautiful. I'm growing the orange version of those this year, so we'll have to see how both of those go. So we're coming up kind of a lot in a lot of these areas. Uh, May 15th. May 15th. Although my last frost date is like April 21st, something like that. I don't usually put out my tomatoes or peppers or anything till almost a month after that because I really want the ground and the evening temperatures to be warmer because they usually get nipped if the temp goes down. So I'm trying hard this year to get my cold weather stuff out while it's still actually cold. uh, but not get my warm weather things out too soon because there's nothing worse than, and I think with the fact that I've grafted them all, I really don't want them to get ticked or nicked again because yeah, yeah, apparently when I signed in, I was a little rushed getting and I if you notice I was a couple of minutes late. I think I hit the wrong uh video to go live. So I don't know what this is going to mean long term, but this is actually the March fifth week in March. Or is this fourth week? Fifth? I think it's fifth week. So you're in the right place. I just made a really good mistake there. Uh, Mike's allotment is asking, do I grow potatoes at all? Maybe in containers or buckets. I do. I don't grow a lot. This year might be the biggest amount of potatoes, and I don't have my seed potatoes here yet. They'll come probably mid-April, and I grow them in either fabric bags or I grow them in some tubs that I got uh, that are bigger that can give me a reasonable harvest. So yeah, and I think I do have to shade them a little bit come the dead of summer because we get our summers get very hot and humid, and so they do appreciate a little bit of relief from that direct sun. And I saw somewhere in the note, I don't know if it was Jason or somebody else who was saying they were going to try to graft a tomato plant onto a potato plant, which I understand can be done. It'd be interesting. Uh, I wasn't always sure why to do it, but I think it would be kind of, and it works from everything I've read about it. And you can even graft tomato stock onto uh, eggplant stock because they're all in the same, they're all kind of in the same family. So you should be able to do that. One of the things I do want to try this year, and we'll see if I'm get around to doing it, is I'd love to graft two different tomatoes onto one rootstock. Just, I guess, I know it could happen, because you can do that with fruit trees. You can uh, graft different fruits onto one trunk. So I just thought I might try that. Uh, now, Claire? Now, why would you burn the shed down if you were grafting? Because I don't. There's no flames involved, or would you be so angry that you might? It's actually very relaxing to do it. Um, it's very relaxed. But I have a science background, so for me, it's like a little bit of lab work. This is awesome. Uh, so I find it very therapeutic, even though because of mobility issues in my hands, I can't always do it. So I have my assistant do a lot of it, but we kind of, talk through it, and it's nice to one-on-one help someone who's much younger, who is just getting into the gardening world, to show them some of the techniques that they can use later if they need to. So yeah, it is a fun project. Okay. So I'm just trying to see if there was anything back here that I'm missing. So I think it's definitely time to get out there and, as you can, weather permitting, um, and get things ready. We're having a a full house generator installed over the next couple of weeks, and they're burying our electrical wires in the ground. So there's going to be some mess involved in that. But luckily, I have beds, so I don't think it's going to interfere with my beds. But we shall see. Oh, thank you, Margaret. I'm doing it just because I really want. I really want to get more tomatoes out of the ones that we really like, and yeah. So thank you. But should this work, and I'm hoping it will, uh, it'll be wonderful, and I'll just put it back into my yearly routine. Used to do it a lot, kind of got out of it for a bit, but if it works again, oh my goodness, that'd be awesome. One of my favorite tomatoes is Paul Robeson, and get get a maybe half a dozen tomato, maybe not even half a dozen, maybe 4, and they're so good. But if I could up that to I got 10 tomatoes, like that would be so worth it to me. I would graft every year. Um, Fiona's asking, what do I have left to sow? Oh, I have a lot. Uh, but a lot of it at this point, I may wait and direct sow. I am doing this staggered succession planting. So every 3 weeks, I'm planting a flat of 72 cells, and I've got some brassicas in it, I've got lettuces in it, and I'm selecting varieties uh, that will now be moving more towards summer, so that when they do get planted outside, they will work with the weather. Uh, so I'm doing that all the way through till probably early August, just so I don't get a glut of anything. So at least that's the hopes. Um, but I have a lot of flowers left to sow, but I might sow like my zinnias and stuff directly. My snapdragons, I think I've whined about this the last couple of weeks. So slow, they're so little. Um, I'd really like those to move along. So we'll see what happens with those. What else do I have left to sow? I have my winter squashes, my melons. But many times I do that. Um, I just direct sow those, and I put something over that to protect them from uh, little squirrels and other things that like to dig up beautiful seeds that were put there for not for them. Okay, not for them. Did my Abraham Lincolns show yet? I think they have, but I'll have to look because they're not in the place where all my other tomatoes are. We've been, it's the spring plant dance right now, right? This is ready to be potted up. This is ready to get outside. So right now, I've got 7 flats of things out on our patio, just hardening them off for the spring. So, oh, Steve, Steve Blaze is saying he's growing uh, Paul Robeson for the first. Nope, that's not Stephen Blaze. Wait a second. Yeah, he's nope. Oh, I'm batting 1,000 here. Here we go. There you are. He's growing Paul Robeson for the first time. You will love that tomato. I mean, it has the reputation it has for a good reason. Uh, Delicious, smoky, wonderful flavor. Oh, Fino's not here to pull ropes in. Yeah, it's a nice kind of dark red with some kind of brownie shoulders a little bit. Oh, so good. So good. Uh, and this, I think this is like, this just talks to the state of when you're going into a season change. It absolutely could be right around the corner. Um, and that, when I saw those tomatoes go in their storage tub today, I thought these are either going to be dead in 4 days or they're all going to be perky and happy and um, feeling the energy from each other and happy to grow forward. So, yeah, it's always a gamble, but I kind of like that about gardening because then and honestly, none of us are too late to start almost anything right now. I mean, you could still be starting chili peppers right now. You're getting really close to not being able to do it anymore. But even today, I had a one flat of it was my sweet and mild peppers and some herbs. User error. It was up on the top shelf of my grow station. I am not tall enough to see the top shelf. And my husband doesn't he appreciates the garden, but he's not necessarily a gardener. So he doesn't always go, "Oh, those look like they need some water." So I had my sweet peppers and my mild peppers and these herbs on a heat mat, and they missed a watering or two. So they were all pretty much fried and toast. So I've just resown that flat um, because there's still time. So particularly with tomatoes, I mean, you know how fast tomatoes grow. It's ridiculous how quickly they grow. So there's still plenty of time, even if disaster hits, to regrow things. I think there's some discussion in the chat about UK compost. I am so sorry that you guys have such a struggle with your compost, because I think UK gardeners are kind of like I look to you all for advice, for how to's, for because it's part of your culture there. It's not just the odd person that has a bit of a garden. It seems like almost everyone has some kind of garden, and you have such availability to products that we just don't have. Um, but I, I just I'm so sorry because we have really nice compost over here, and I don't know if it's because I don't really know why it's because. And peat is still not removed, but most of the companies have switched already to non-peat compost, and they're quite beautiful. And I wish somehow uh, I could help you with that, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it. But I do know that, yeah. Francis is saying, yeah, we do rely on Canadian peat. Yes, no, it's all going to run. And actually, I think most of the companies, like I said, have already switched to a peat-free compost because it's common and everybody knows it, and it's environmentally better not to have it. So I don't know if we just jumped on it quicker, so the companies have retooled faster. I really don't know what the problem is, but yeah, I'm just sorry that you got I've not met a gardener through my whole YouTube experience here that has not complained about the UK compost. So I'm very sorry about that. Uh, oh, that's interesting. Canada has a more sustainable way of using peat. Wow, good. That's awesome. But I think like anything, once it becomes like a problem, uh, I have to applaud the companies that just get in line and go, okay, we're not going to do it anymore. So, uh, yeah. So, what what if anything do you have planted in your garden yet for this year, aside from garlic? We'll give garlic a pass because many of us planted that last fall. Uh, are any of you asparagus growers? I was just looking back. Oh, I just hit my 1 year anniversary on YouTube, which is kind of in some ways feels like absolutely impossible. Uh, and yet, for those of you who do make videos, you know that there's um, it adds a layer to the gardening. But I can't believe it's been 1 year. So I was looking back at one of my videos uh, from last year, and it was asparagus. And it was the first year we were able to uh, harvest it because it had been 3 years. And I just looked at the date, it was like May 10th, and the bed was in all its glory. So I'm thinking, wow, by next month, we'll be harvesting asparagus, which is very exciting. Oh, thank you all for the congrats. It's been fun. I have met so many amazing people doing this. I can't I can't imagine. Like it's been lovely to meet all of you and to keep getting to know you and to meet more people and I just love sitting around talking about gardening also. Uh that's just a plus, right? Uh oh, Stephen, cool. You've been here all the way. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, hi, Jane. Thank you. Yeah, Jane's one of the more seasoned um, YouTube gardeners. So I take that and appreciate it. Thank you. Nancy is saying she got her for, oh, you're going to love a GreenStalk. Nancy, I grew, okay. I'm just excited that you have one. I have 3, and last year, no, it was the year before, I grew nothing but peppers in one of them and got a great crop. Great crop. Uh, you still have to put some support, in the pocket. So I just had, little canes that um, I tied the peppers through. They did great. They all grow up and they're kind of staggered. So they're very happy to kind of coexist there. Um, but yeah, I loved it for peppers. And if you're not sure about what to grow in it, if you go to the GreenStalk website, there's a picture, an album of everything that's grown in, and they give you tips on how to do it. So I have found that to be an amazing. Mike's allotment is asking what a GreenStalk is. A GreenStalk, to my knowledge, is not available in the UK yet. I think it will be because it's a pretty phenomenal thing. It is stacks. How can I describe this? Okay, it takes up about 3 square feet, but you can grow up to 5 layers on the big ones and 7 layers on a shorter one. And it's got kind of a really cool watering system that if you water into this reservoir on the top, it drips into each of uh, the pockets. without you having to water the whole thing. If you go to GreenStalk.com, you will be able to get a much better look at it. They're wonderful. And again, they don't take up much space, and you can get a lot of growing in them. I used one last year for strawberries, worked out beautifully. I also think uh, anything else that can spread like those can, it's a great thing for it because there's nowhere for it to spread to. So um, I don't know, Amanda, if they're on Amazon or not. I know that GreenStalk just had a sale recently, and I think the only person in the UK that has one is Eli from In the Garden with Kate and Eli, or Eli and Kate, sorry, because she was given one from a U.S. gardener. So yeah, I really don't think at this point you can get them in the UK. But I think someone's either going to produce them over there or they're going to open up a way to get them there because they're pretty amazing. Oh, Warren, we kind of went through this a little earlier, but I'd be happy. Advantages of tomato grafting are if you have a variety like an heirloom variety that does not produce as much fruit as like an F1 does, has less disease resistance because it's an heirloom variety, does not have the best rootstock, you can graft them onto a good rootstock, and that will help the plant fight diseases. It will help the plant be more vigorous, and it will keep the plant healthier in general. So I am putting I grafted today all of the ones that I knew I really wanted to. I'm not grafting any dwarf varieties. I've never had problems with those. And most of those aren't heirlooms anyway because dwarf varieties weren't the first ones that came out. So I hope that answers your question, but there's a lot of advantages, and I'm hoping this year that I get a much better harvest from some of my tomatoes for doing this. And like I said, I haven't done this in about 15 years. And I had it down to a pretty good system back then. But it was amazing how much came back just, getting back to doing it. So let's see what else. And if you have a question or something, here, let's see. This is a question from Claire. Does it have a big reservoir of compost in the middle? No. They stack on each other. And the whole pocket area, you're filled up until like this central, I'm going to say a central tube. That's the one that distributes the water through the system. So yeah, it's more like a central watering system. It has a big reservoir on the top that you use to fill with water. So mostly it's empty up top, but it's a wonderful way to do it. Oh, how are my Clutie peppers? They're slow. I was going to say my hot peppers, I just finally potted them up because I almost felt bad for them. Kind of like I gave my son a haircut before kindergarten because he just didn't need one, but everybody else had one. So I was like, we got to give you a mercy haircut. So I mercied the hot peppers and potted those up, and they seem to be showing a little bit more growth. So Well, and, Jane, you're correct. Here's the thing with, GreenStalk. They have a patented watering thing that goes on, in it so that you really only have to fill this reservoir up, and it just drips beautifully through the whole thing. But I think there's a whole lot of other stackable planters available that don't have that, but will give you the same effect. Just a little more watering. Um, yeah, let's see what else we got. Yeah, I'm getting behind on the chat here. Uh, oh, good question, Mary. My favorite gardening tool, bar none, is a Hori Hori knife. Bar none. I think it does so much. And I feel like a little bit of a badass walking around with, that knife in my pocket. So, so yeah, that's mine. And then I have what's my favorite sweet pepper? Uh, I think my favorite sweet pepper is called an Ajvarsky. It's a long red pepper, kind of cone shaped. Sweetest, most incredible pepper I've ever had. And I will put, as long as I can get those seeds, they will be in my garden every year. And I think this year I'm doubling down a little bit on those. So they just you can make one of the best things that they do is uh, when you burn the outside and you take the outside off. Roasted red peppers. Oh my goodness. They make delicious roasted red peppers. Just delicious. So that's a favorite of mine. Uh yeah, I think most of the bigger channels have them for sure. Um okay, here we have a question. Oh, Robin is seconds. Yep, I gave my hubby one too because he just liked it. It looked like a knife. So, yeah. My son is in Texas. What seeds do you suggest I ask for? I'm in the UK. He's a corporal stationed in a US base in Texas. Here's the thing about the US. It is so big that, and I imagine in the state of Texas, which also happens to be a huge state, there might be a variety of different, like not zones, but ecosystems in there. Um, he will do well with a lot of things that grow well in hot and humid weather. I would honestly, I would Google it. I know that sounds like such a cop out, but I would like put in what city he is based out of, um, and find out what really grows well there. Their 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 environment is so different from ours that I would hate to steer you wrong there. I mean, they're almost tropical. They're that warm. So I think that might be your safest bet. Um, yeah. And I was trying to think if there's any Texas gardeners that I know of that have channels. Um, but you also might want to search for that on YouTube and see if there's any Texas gardeners around his area, and they might be able to give you some legit um, good recommendations. Um, I'm gonna say some of them are, and some of them are not. Uh, I think for a good quality hori knife, you're gonna probably spend between 30 and 40 US dollars. Um, but a lot of people now, or companies even, have storefronts on Amazon. So you could maybe do some research on that. Um, and Fiona, forgive me, but I'm assuming you're in the UK. Uh, I bought Tony C. Smith one a couple years ago, and I was gonna get it on Amazon, and then I realized, I've got the internet. I can search for companies that sell hori knives in the UK, and I can just order it through that company. And that's what I ended up doing. I don't recall what the name of that company was. Uh, wow. But yeah, I think you got to be a little careful with Amazon, don't you? I mean, some companies are there just to, sell you a substandard product, and some are really legit and sell beautiful products. So I would just be careful there. Jane. Oh, you're so cute, Jane. Love my hori, but afraid to say I let it get rusty. Most it has come off with bicarbonate. Any advice? I would sand it a little bit. Just get some, a little bit of sandpaper. I would look at it more like almost like a cast iron cookware pan, right? Sometimes you get them at a secondhand store and they're rusty as, I'll get out. And you just sand them up and reseason them. So I would say maybe that, and then put a little oil on it next time, and it shouldn't rust for you, or not as quickly. Um, yeah, that's what I would do. But if anybody else has any thoughts on that, please chime in. Uh, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, Margaret. Um, yeah, a lot of chefs say Niwaki sells a fantastic. That is a very familiar name to me. So I would say, yeah, I mean, there are some companies that are just stand out that just do really a good job. Um, uh, Jace is also saying some wire wool than oil. So wire wool, kind of the same as sandpaper, just whatever. That just you're just trying to knock off that rust and keep it lubed, right? Uh, okay, okay. Now this always it always disturbs me, but I totally get it. Uh, that Coke is good for getting things clean. And then don't you think back when I don't know, I know back when I used to drink pop, there was nothing like a good Coke, and it cleans out pipes and it cleans out I mean, you can get almost everything cleaned out with Coca-Cola. So don't you just wonder, gosh, what was that doing to our insides? I don't know. Uh, okay, so did anybody tell me if they had asparagus? I think I asked that and we kind of got distracted with GreenStalk's unblocked toilets. I don't think I've tried that one, Jace, but that's a good. I I would believe that for sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, because you can't argue that Coke. There's nothing like a cold Coke. I haven't had one in many, 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 many years. But they're just I used to get those. I even used to get the little like bottles that looked just like the old Coke bottles, but they were just little. Uh, yeah. So is anybody growing asparagus? I would love to hear about asparagus because that's really going to be the first crop for me that's going to come in. Uh, Stainless steel should not rust, Francis. I think that, yeah, does stainless steel rust? No. So the hori knife must not be stainless steel. Is this your first year, Claire, growing asparagus? Uh, Mama's Oasis allotment, she planted 20 asparagus about 7 years ago. Only 3 spindly things left. Huh. And planted squash last year and they went mad. Wow. Uh, well, asparagus is one of those. I mean, obviously, you have to dedicate a space uh, in your garden for it because, um, being a perennial, it's going to stay there. Uh, but what a pleasure! Actually, last year, uh, we were giving so much asparagus away because there's something about asparagus. I don't know that it preserves really well. I mean, it's almost like you have to preserve it. Like I will make asparagus tarts. That's probably one of my favorite things to do with that, other than eating it fresh. But you can freeze those like that. It's different when you freeze just regular asparagus spears. Um, yeah, and once you have it fresh out of the garden, you'll never purchase it again. It's almost like you can stack that up against um, like a tomato out of the garden. Nothing like a tomato out of the garden. You never want to go and get one at the grocery store anymore. Same thing with asparagus. And I'm switching up my website a little bit right now uh, because I want it to be the how-tos of growing something. Tips on how to grow asparagus. Tips on uh, what are some good purveyors of asparagus roots, and I guess that would be an asparagus crown. Um, but then I also want to have some recipes available and I want to have some options for preserving it because like, asparagus, they come in as a glut and there's really nothing you can do with that other than give it away or preserve it. So there's going to be a new page on my website and the website is realfoodcomesdirty.com and it will be by the produce item. So there'll be a picture of asparagus. When you click on that, it'll bring up how to grow, tips on growing, but cooking ideas and preserving ideas. So, and I'm going to try to keep up with the order that we harvest things this year. So we'll see how that goes. That's a lot, but I would like to at least go. Here's what you can do to preserve asparagus. Here's what you can do if you want to grow it a little differently here. So I want to just have this page of listing by produce. So I am hoping that will be helpful. And maybe then also have a page for or list them in what season are they available so that you can, you can eat seasonally, right? Which I think is great. Um, and asparagus, I've done both ways. I have purchased the crowns and I have started the seeds because our first time planting this at this home, they didn't all seem to do well, or we had some animal that was digging them up, something. So I started some seed. And I know you lose a year by starting seed, but I was, if you can try them, you can try them, right? And they grew beautifully. And so I have filled in over the years with just sprouting some seeds and popping them in and kind of marking where the ones are that I shouldn't harvest. So, oh my goodness, we're over an hour. Uh, wow. Yeah, Robin, there's nothing like puff pastry with asparagus because the asparagus tart that I do, it's a sheet of puff pastry on the bottom, and I've not met anyone yet who doesn't like that one. So I think that one's on my website right now. Um, I was late. I was only 2 minutes late. Okay, but I clicked on the wrong thing. So we'll go a few more minutes. Is that what I'm sensing? Uh, so what is we've got some recipe ideas here in the chat. What is your favorite way to eat it or cook asparagus or eat asparagus? It might not even be you cooking it. Oh, thank you, Graham. That's lovely. Enjoy your ice cream. Yeah, no worries. Um, yeah. Okay, so what is big on your list? Because next week is the first week in April. What's on your hit list? Anybody? I want to get my onions planted, and I'd like to get my first succession flat planted, or as close as I can. Because once we get out into the garden, once our plants get out there, they definitely take off, don't they? So let's try to. Mel is sowing her peas, beans, and maybe melons. Jace at Leeton is, if it's dry enough, I want to get the brassicas out. Zipper greenhouse goes up and seeds get planted out. Yep. My little zipper thing's working. It's only blown over twice because of the wind. I think we have like 6 or 8 bricks now. And actually they're more like patio slabs. They're not even bricks because the winds we've been getting this spring. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Yeah, so I'm hoping that by next week, the 7 flats that I have right now on our outdoor table on the deck will be in and out enough that they'll be hardened off to the cool and they can all get in the garden. Mama's Oasis is seedlings are going out this weekend into the greenhouse. I'm going to start sowing direct and getting my potatoes in. Yeah, I wish I could I can't get mine in because they're not here yet. So I normally can't get potatoes in till mid to late April. Marjorie is putting in her beans and peas or sowing them, uh, onions, tomatoes, cucumbers, melons. Oh, Stephen, you've got quite a list there. That looks great. Mary is pruning and air layering fruit trees. Lovely. And Betty Barnes is planting her red onions and lettuce. Already have cabbage, kales, and peas in. Awesome. Yeah, I was realizing my peas are all up. I should probably have those out on the table with everything else. So yeah, I think we're, as much as we're all from different climates and different parts of the world, we're kind of a little bit of the same, right? At least us up north here. I don't know about any of our southern states. I mean, they're already growing. I think they've already grown corn this year. So, nice. Yeah. Yeah. Robin's had to do the same with her little green greenhouse, that our little plastic greenhouses. But it's amazing how hot they get. It is amazing how hot those little things get. So I've had my onions in there for about 2 to 3 weeks, mainly because I needed the space in my house. But they seem to be doing okay. So I'm hoping if we get them in next week, they'll do well. Okay, so I know I was a little late and I apologize. And I won't hit the wrong button again. I'll get here a little earlier. I was just having so much fun with the grafting of the tomatoes. I kind of got in here just in the nick of time. So, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for participating. I wish you great success this coming week with whatever you're sowing or planting or transplanting. Remember, it's fun. Gardening is fun. Sometimes we have to tell ourselves that, because sometimes it gets a little under our right, under our craw. Maybe that's a good word. Wonderful. So hey, you guys take care, and same time, same place next week. All right. Thanks again.